Hi, I'm Aleesha,
And I'm Danielle.
and welcome to another episode of the She's of STEM.
The She's of STEM, as you know, if you've been with us for a while, is a podcast series that will be discussing women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We will be discussing women's issues, current events that pertain to STEM, how we can change the scientific culture, and how people are already changing.
Yeah, and today we have a bit of a controversial issue that we'll be discussing, and it's should women, especially, yeah, promoting science. Now, there's been a kind of issue over the last couple of weeks where female scientists on social media are being questioned if they're helping the cause or actually hindering it. And I feel like the first time this issue was raised that I personally saw was from this article published by Science Magazine. And as two women in social media who promote science, but many would say in different ways, I felt like it'd be interesting for us to discuss it and look at our stance on this and also hear your guys' stance on this as well. So basically, the article says that it raises two questions. Is being on social media taking away from the message of women that are actually out there on the field, that are actually engineers, they're the scientists, they're researching in the labs? Is it taking away from that message? Is it kind of dumbing it down and packaging it in a way that's not reality? And it also raises another issue that why are there more women in social media promoting science than men? And I just quickly wanted to state my stance. Angela Chen, who wrote an article on For Verge in response to this, she actually explained the concept and what I believe perfectly, where she said that we can have selfies and push for policies at the same time. So, what about you, Danielle?
Yeah, so there's a lot going on in this article, and
Yeah.
I think this is going to be interesting because Aleesha and I, if you're watching on, I mean, maybe it's not as prevalent on the YouTube channel, but if you are watching on the YouTube channel, I think you can see that like we are on different sides of the spectrum of femininity. um and like I'm just getting into like doing like makeup and hair and like dressing a certain way because that's just not like who I've been. Um, so I think that this discussion is going to be interesting because we're coming from two completely different standpoints. So when I read this article, I was like, I totally got where the author was coming from, and
Mm-hmm.
I was very empathetic with her stance, but I also saw how it was like putting other women down who are posting selfies of being a scientist. And
Mm-hmm.
she has this quote. This is a poll quote from the article. The researchers on Instagram, which is what she's referring to, assert themselves as scientists who don't fit the stereotypes that are typically applied to women in the field, which got me questioning. And then she says they are not boring or unfashionable. Now, I know exactly what she's referring to. I can picture the woman who is, quote, boring and, quote, unfashionable. And I can also
Mm-hmm.
picture the woman who is, quote, fun and
Yeah.
fashionable. And when I think of fun and fashionable, I think of people like you, Aleesha. You know, know how to do your makeup and you do it very well. Your social media presence, even with STEM girls, is a lot of selfies of you because you're proud of being a scientist. And when
Mm-hmm.
I see you post that, I'm like, go girl. You're very proud of that. But and when I picture boring, like I know what she's referring to, but at the same time, like who's to say which is which? Because
Yeah.
my definition of boring is different than yours. i
Mm-hmm.
I love reading, and I particularly love reading books about math. Most people, even mathematicians I talk to, are like, that's so boring. Why would you do that? I get lots of joy out of it because there's a lot of mathematicians who are funny. And but people don't like that stuff. So just because I think it's cool doesn't mean you have to. Just because I think it's boring or I think it's fashionable doesn't mean that the general public thinks that it is. And that's okay.
And I feel like we should have a spectrum of people. And I feel like I do see a kind of spectrum of scientists as well. So I
Yeah.
do see the kind of girls that do dress up, and I do see the girls that dress down. But I think that's normal life as well. So
Dress
even in
down,
my
Ayo.
yeah, so even in my class, or even like the people around me, some people dress up, some people dress down. That doesn't mean that it's shown in it's always shown in that light as well. And if anything, we should encourage people that maybe aren't the typical, like, this what she's basically saying, the fun scientist, who even show their work in their own light and in their own way, and just how they would see it as well.
Right.
So the fact that she's saying that social media is not good for scientists, or like it's hindering the message, it doesn't make sense in that sense, that if we're spreading in a different light, because I feel like it should be encouraged more to spread it in a spectrum of ways.
Right. And just like what we were talking about in our last episode, was it our last episode? We were talking about exposure and representation of
Yeah,
females,
yeah,
or of just anyone, right?
yeah,
It's saying, you know, I think that, sorry, I'm just trying to word this in the proper way. That we need that spectrum. We need that exposure and we need that representation. So if you are on one end totally, totally, quote, girly, and on the other end totally, quote, like tomboy or more masculine, or you don't identify as much as female, that's fine. That you just need to show your work and show how you do your work in your own light and in your own way, because that's the only way that you know how to do that. And so if we have this representation, if we have this girls and guys or whatever you identify with saying, this is how I science, that
yeah,
it brings out that representation, and then the next generation can decide, oh, okay, there's someone who looks like me, or they don't look like me, but that doesn't mean that they can't also be celebrated, and we can't also support them.
yeah, I totally get what you mean. And from when you ask people and when you talk about what people think of female scientists or just female women in STEM, I think most people already associate it with boring, quote unquote, and that
Right.
they dress that way. So I feel like she's maybe just concentrating on the small percentage of girls that already are on social media and do have a kind of a profile that do dress up. But I feel like it's already such a small percentage. I feel like that's not the majority she's attacking anyway. And I feel like maybe they did go onto social media to dress up. Like, for if I backtrack, a lot of people sometimes were surprised that I even did engineering in the first place, just because of how I look like and how I dress. So
Yep,
that's
yep,
why
yep.
I kind of was encouraged to show the more quote unquote girly side, because what is girly anyway? But do you get what I'm
Right,
saying? That side,
right,
just because that's what people don't usually associate that with STEM subjects and females that are in STEM subjects. Anyways,
right.
so
And I think what you said, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's fine. I think I've forgotten anyway.
Okay. What you said earlier about how most people view science as boring is, it's not even the scientist that they view as boring. It's the actual subject that they
Yeah,
see as boring. And I do think that that's changing.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, all the stuff that we're talking about, all the culture that we're talking about, the exposure, the representation, the what it's like to be a scientist, who is a scientist, what science is, all that's changing. And so we're just trying to expose it even more so maybe it can change faster.
Yeah.
Because we all know that, you know, people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, he comes on and he's explaining astrophysicists for people in a hurry. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think we see that when a male does it and he explains it in his own way and he tries to make it accessible, it's like, oh, thank you for doing that. And I think a little bit, I don't know, I kind of got these tones from the article, was that they kind of were seeing how women are taking science and making it in their own way and maybe quote dumbing it down, which I don't think that that's what they're doing. I think they're making it more accessible to
Yeah.
more people. But why is it different when a woman does it than when a man does it? If I explain something to a 6-year-old the way a 6-year-old understands it, that's what I should be doing.
Yeah.
But if I'm talking to someone who is also an engineer or who is also in my field and understands what I'm doing, then maybe I'll, you know, throw in a few words that make sense to them, that they're going to understand, that a 6-year-old wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
completely.
so we're changing what boring is in science. Or instead of boring, it's accessible to you. And we're changing how accessible science is. Now we have that through social media. We have that through social media superstars, or science superstars, and they were able to get that like through social media. So that was a little bit of a
Yeah.
tangent.
No, but
Sorry.
I completely agree. Like, for instance, John and Hank Green, they have a
Mm-hmm.
YouTube channel. I don't know if you're aware of them.
No.
And so John and Hank Green, they have like they don't have an educational channel, but then Hank Green went on to make these educational channels, and so did John. So they make all these different types of subjects. So they have a science channel, they have a history channel, um,
Mm-hmm.
and they basically explain really tough concepts in a really basic way. So anyone, even if you don't have anything to do with the field, even if you don't have anything to do with biology, for instance, you could
Mm-hmm.
watch that video and you would understand like photosynthesis or any random topic. And
Yeah.
I think that's what it's all about. And it and so many people in the comments are like, this is so interesting, this is so cool, this is this is
Mm-hmm.
that. And no one, like, I don't really see any criticism against them, I guess,
Right.
because they're male, because I didn't even think of it from that perspective as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the double standards that society, I guess, plays. So when a woman scientist actually brings it down, she gets put down for it. It's like she's dumbing it down. It's like she's ruining the reputation for all women out there, and that
Right.
it's like she shouldn't have done it. She rather have just thingy to herself. And one other point that she made, the article made, was that you could be spending time doing more research, or you could be spending time doing this or doing that. But I
Instead of making it
instead of,
accessible
yeah,
on
because
social
I think
media.
she mentioned like how people spend hours and upon hours on like social media creating posts and da,
Mm-hmm.
da, da, da. But a lot of those posts and a lot of like I guess women that I've seen in the science community do generally post their work and post their lives. I feel like it's the same with anyone, like a makeup artist, or all these Instagram promoters. They're literally living their lives, but they're documenting it and they're showing it at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's similar to like when a makeup artist does a makeup on someone, does a makeup on a client, or just and showcases it for Instagram. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it doesn't dumb her work down, or it doesn't create it, rather it promotes it, and you're basically doing your own thing but showing it at the same time.
I think it makes it more human.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And you have a story. Like when I do work, even post, if you look at my Instagram, if I've
Mm-hmm.
made like some notes and I'm like, oh, these notes look pretty neat, I take a photo and I post them on Instagram. If I'm reading like an engineering book or if I'm doing this, I post it. It doesn't
Yeah.
take away from my actual work
Mm-hmm.
rather than just promote. Like, it's basically like everyone on social media, I feel like. Unless you're portraying a normal or going out your way or you're portraying an image that is not you, I feel like,
Yes.
yeah, so I feel like most people are, then that's a completely different issue. But I think most people are just like science, especially females in science, are just living their lives and posting it at the same time. And it's that thing where live and let live, where if you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. You shouldn't be pressurized either way. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. If someone likes
Yeah.
posting selfies, let them post selfies. If someone doesn't, you don't have to be a specific career or you don't have to be a specific type of woman to do it. That's the thing.
That is golden, what you just said. Just live and let live. Like, who cares? Who
Yeah, I feel like there shouldn't even be an
cares?
issue if it's not harming or if it's not like there's not actually a proof that it's ruining her work or there's it's insulting someone or it's harming anyone. It shouldn't really be an issue to discuss in the first place, I feel like.
I think we're too new into social media to even make like these sweeping judgments about whether it's helping or whether it's hurting someone's career. Because there
Yeah.
are so many good arguments for both sides. But exactly what you said, it's just at that point where you need to get to, I don't care what they're doing and I'm going to do me. If I don't want to post onto social media, then that's fine. But if I do, then that is fine. And um fine. Then that is fine. And for a very long time, like I did not post on social. I did not want people to know my life. And when I was in college, um I didn't post as much. And maybe that's because I was studying all the time. I don't know, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't time for it. It was just something that
Hmm.
I didn't want to do. Um,
Yeah.
but
Or make
now,
time for, basically.
right, or make time for it. There's totally
Yeah.
time for it. And just because I was studying and going and getting a degree doesn't mean that I wasn't also doing other fun things.
Yeah.
Instead, I chose to spend my time on something different. But that doesn't mean that I'm better than anyone who posted on social media. Um, and I think we all go through ebbs and flows of like loving it and hating it at the same time. The only reason why I'm really on social media now is to promote She's of STEM or to promote Make Them Mainstream, to use those platforms to really talk about them and showcase them because I use it as a tool. When someone says to me, "Oh, this is a tool for you to get better at whatever you're already doing," then I'm all on board. Um,
Definitely.
so maybe I think there's this mindset. I think that there's people who love it and post all over it, but then there's also these people who think that it's so wrong and why are you sharing your life story and why are you talking about yourself? Why are you wasting time on that? Yesterday, I was teaching a dance class and I had this kid who was, I don't know, 11 tell me, well, most people make relationships, both friends and romantic relationships through social media. He's 11. I was like, okay, cool. That's where the future's going. It's on
Yeah.
social, it's on the internet. And I don't think that it's right or wrong. I think it's reality. I just think
Yeah.
that that's where we're at. And
And if you're not harming anyone or if you're not inciting hate messages,
right,
there
right.
should be no. no issue. I think the issue begins where you harm someone, or you're purposely going on social media
To tear
to,
people down.
yeah, to tear people down, which is not the agenda for a lot of these females in science. It's to promote basically females in science.
Yeah.
So I,
It's to promote, to support, to celebrate. And then
yeah,
when other females in science come on and tell them that they're not being a female in science correctly, like, where's that support? Where's the stronger together? Where's the women support women? I think what came along with this article, from both the people who agreed with the author, from the author herself writing this, and from all the people who attacked her back, why was there, I saw no love in the matter. I saw no people saying, hey, this is how I want to science, and this is how I feel comfortable doing it. Thank you for your opinion. I appreciate it. I appreciate you as a scientist and the fact that you science different than I do. There was
yeah, exactly.
none of that. It was all, she's wrong. I can't believe that she's tearing these women down. And then the people who agreed with her are like, no, you're wrong. She's right. Why are you only representing this narrow view of femininity? Why are you only doing this? And it was a lot of just like, and
Yeah.
like, no, just take a breath, speak to
Mhm.
each other like humans,
Yeah, exactly,
and
exactly.
appreciate each other. We can't say hashtag stronger together for the hashtag scicom, the science community, if we're not actually standing together.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like there is obviously two sides to the story. So
Mm-hmm.
I even agree somewhat with the article as well. Like, I feel like she wrote it because she was, I guess, recommended by her superiors or someone to put herself out there more, be on social media more,
Mm-hmm.
so she could, for like her career, I guess. So she could
Yeah.
put it on her CV, she could put it in a portfolio. It's something like that she could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like she felt like, I don't want to do that. That's not me. Why is like everyone pressurizing it? It's so
Mm-hmm.
dumb. Those people on social, like, I feel like she was causing that. But I did agree
Yeah.
with the
I
fact
can
that
see
she was,
that.
yeah. But I did agree with the fact that she was saying that social media is not the end all. People can do things in real life to, break the barriers and get more women involved. Like, it doesn't always have to be online. And what else did she say? She said something like, yeah, that's basically what she said. She was just like, you don't, it shouldn't be your only thing. And people are thinking that people, like women are doing so much when in reality they're posting a photo. So that's the kind of thing that I got. Like, I agree with one part of it where it shouldn't be the end all. And yes, of course, you can do things in real life,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think that social media is a very, very powerful tool,
Completely.
that it's literally changed people's lives, people's perspectives. Social media, if you look at it from like laws and reforms and all of that stuff, you can see people's experiences. Like, if I go back to, for instance, Pakistan, where social media has actually changed a lot of women's lives, where whenever they're harassed out in a workplace,
Mm-hmm.
they write a post on Facebook and it gets retweeted, it gets reposted, sorry, so many times, it gets so much attention
Mm-hmm.
that the company is forced to do something about it.
That's amazing.
Whereas before her voice would have been silenced.
Right.
So with social media, and you can see that where even in America with like the Black Rights Movement and like
Yeah.
the protests and the killings, people post it, and then obviously those stories would have been unheard
Yeah. Yeah.
if there wasn't social media, they would have just been like, there's been stories for centuries. We don't know what's been going on from that person's account. When we read something, even like 50, 60, 100 years ago, it's usually from someone else's perspective.
Right.
And it's usually someone that's most likely in power. That's
Mm-hmm.
probably why they got like their books published and da da da. So now we can see, like, I can literally tell you my feelings of how I feel as a female in science,
Right.
and people can respond and be like, oh, I feel like that as well, or
You can find a
I feel,
community,
yeah,
or
so
you
you
can
can literally find
respect
a